Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. After the boat capsized, my boyfriend's sister and I fell into the water together. Without hesitation, my boyfriend first took her away in the water. On the way to the hospital, he rationalized, "Linda has a child in her belly. He can't just leave her alone." He didn't know that at this moment, I also had a child in my belly, but I didn't want it. The glaring light in the ward made it hard for me to open my eyes. It was quiet around me. My head was dizzy and heavy. I used the wall to walk out of the ward. Familiar laughter came from the next ward. I saw a couple through the glass window. Leo turned his head to Linda and whispered. They were talking and laughing, warming each other's hearts. I had imagined that when I woke up, he would comfort me, feel guilty, and ask for forgiveness. But imagination is just that, imagination. He left me alone, lying on a cold hospital bed, while he was next door telling jokes to Linda. Watching the man who cherished the woman on the bed, I felt like a joke. I was a bit dazed, wanting to go back to the ward. My weak body fell to the ground. The loud noise disturbed the two people in the room. Leo noticed me. His expression was tense and awkward. He helped me up, moved his mouth, but only said, "You're awake. Why didn't you tell me?" "How could I tell you? Tell you how scared I am, how cold I am, how uncomfortable I feel. But where were you?" I didn't speak, just moved his hand away from my arm. He looked panicked. I saw the first glimpse of calmness in him. He was afraid. After I woke up, Leo didn't want to leave me alone, so he came to chat with me. Her eyes were red as if she was about to cry. What was she crying for? It was me who was left on the sidelines. I ignored her, slowly leaning against the wall, and walked back to that cold ward. Leo brought me warm water. I didn't accept it. Linda noticed my silence outside the door and weakly smiled. "Leo, spend more time with Vivian. I'll go out for a walk." Leo hesitated, looking at her, words stuck in his throat. "You go, I'm fine." I could tell Leo was worried about Linda. She was pregnant and had a scare falling in the water. Someone should be with her now. Leo looked at me guiltily. "Are you hungry? I'll go get you something to eat." Was he feeling guilty? Of course he was, as I almost lost my life. But he still hurried out to help Linda. He would be back soon. He must have reassured Linda. He put down the soup in his hand. He knew I didn't like tasteless porridge. Looking at the soup in front of me, I smiled lightly. Did he forget I am allergic to seafood? Just a small bite of shrimp can make me vomit with severe stomach pain. Eating too much might send me into shock. When I first returned home, to avoid being hated by my parents, I obediently listened to them and ate everything except for seafood. They thought I was picky and didn't give me a good look. A child who was treated like livestock in the main house, how could she be spoiled? So they always scolded me for this, disguising it as education. Later, I ate seafood in front of them and wit. I remember protecting the child in Linda's belly, praying that her child was safe. He exuded panic and helplessness all over. And me, I was shivering alone in the cold. How I wished I hadn't seen that scene. At that moment, I wished that I had drowned right in front of him. I wanted him to live with guilt and regret, suffering and agony. I wanted every time he saw that lake to envision my drowning figure in front of him. Unfortunately, the ambulance arrived too quickly. We were taken to the hospital. In the car, he held me, trembling all over, apologizing to me. "Vivian, it's okay. I'm here." I lay there weakly, unable to calm his fearful heart. From my perspective, Linda had fallen into a coma. She lay there with her eyes closed, her face pale and translucent, her delicate body like a fragile piece of paper lying on the bed. "Linda is in a coma," I gently reminded Leo. He turned around and noticed Linda's condition, rushing over to the doctor to inquire about her situation. At the sound of Linda's name, he rushed over like a dog smelling meat. This man had an astonishing sense of justice and responsibility towards his brother's girlfriend. His care and protectiveness towards Linda had long been overflowing. I used to willingly believe his explanations, but now I could no longer deceive myself. I subconsciously touched my stomach. "I'm sorry, baby. Mommy has to give you up. Mommy doesn't want you to be born into a world without love." Inside me, a little life was growing, but I had stomach cancer. I didn't have much time left. But I loved Leo. We had always wanted a child, and we had been hoping for this child for 2 years. Without much hesitation, I decided to fight to stay alive to leave our love's creation in this world. But Linda's arrival hit me like a blow to the head. The love I had struggled to maintain shattered in one of her smiles. No one cared about this child except for me. Some children are the pride of heaven, some are the center of attention. But then there are those who are destined to be unloved. Because of poor nutrition in my childhood, my body was very weak. I thought it would be difficult for us to have a child. Until recently, when I would occasionally vomit, I thought it was a sign from above. But the diagnosis of stomach cancer and the pregnancy test results arrived in my hands simultaneously. With mixed emotions, I called Leo. There was a busy tone on the other end of the line. Who was he talking to at that time? He was on a business trip, and the first call he made when he returned was to Linda. I turned off my phone and stayed at the hospital for a long time, finally organizing the reports and taking the bus home. As the bus was nearing home, it stopped at a station, and at a nearby supermarket, I saw Linda. Behind her was Leo carrying bags. They were chatting and laughing, looking happy and sweet. They looked like a newlywed couple shopping together and heading home. They left the supermarket and turned back into a maternity store. The bus started and I felt a physical urge. My stomach churned, but I bit my lip tightly to hold it back. I held onto my bag, unable to stop trembling. I missed my stop and continued to sit on the bus. The cold wind seeped through the windows into my clothes. When did Leo change? Was it when he brought Linda back from abroad? No. Was it when he ignored my video calls when he was on a business trip? Maybe not. He was usually composed and self-contained, but in front of Linda, he was like a child asking for candy. Was it the panic when I discovered his hidden photo album filled with pictures of Linda? Or his daily indifference towards me? The things I had always been afraid to face were now cruelly laid out before me. Was she really a sister to him or a new lover? As the bus reached the final stop, the driver urged me to get off. I got off aimlessly and started walking back. A pretty young girl suddenly stopped me. She blinked her clear, innocent eyes and handed me an exquisite gift box. Would you like to try our new pudding? It's known to bring happiness. I raised my head, realizing I had passed by a dessert shop. I opened the box, took one, and put it in my mouth. It was delicious. But despite its sweetness and softness, tears streamed down my face. The girl thought she had done something wrong, and I quickly put away the box and fled. I cried outside for a while before finally returning home. As I opened the door, I ran into him sorting the shoe cabinet, apparently just returning. Why are you back so late? Work stuff, I whispered silently in my heart. He never showed much concern towards me, just wrapped his coat around me. Winter is coming, so put on more layers when you go out. I still held a faint hope in my heart towards him. Let's get married. Let's wait a little longer. He didn't hesitate at all. Perhaps finding his tone too cold, he added, after this period, let's get married in Finland. I'll give you a romantic wedding. His eyes lit up with anticipation as he said those words. I knew he wouldn't lie, at least not at that moment. But why not now? He sighed and took my hand. Vivian, you know the company has a lot going on lately. I admit I'm not as important to him as Linda, and I can't even match up to his work. I always rank last in all his choices. I raised my head, wanting to ask him what if I were pregnant. If we had our own child, could we get married now? I still didn't dare ask, fearing the answer I dreaded. I was always a cowardly person. Perhaps my courage was all spent in the past when I pursued him persistently. The wedding location he mentioned in my beloved Finland held a sweet rarity, and I accepted it with a smile. Several days passed, and one day my stomach started cramping like crazy. I quietly went to the hospital again. The doctor told me that my condition was deteriorating rapidly and advised me to be admitted for treatment. Late-stage stomach cancer treatment only prolongs life for a few days. But people always have an inexplicable fear of death. I crouched in the hospital corridor, life and death alternating within me. I never dialed Leo's number. He must be busy because I could only see him almost every night after he finished work. I could handle being alone. I recalled the 2 times in my life when I fought back. The first was against the human traffickers who abused me, my former father. The second was against the raging disease. At that time, I firmly believed I could defeat it, that I could give birth to a child. I admit I had a gambling spirit. Even during that period, I was looking forward to the little life inside me and to the happy expression on Leo's face when he became a father. It was only after falling into the water that I realized how ridiculous I was. My child, when born, was destined to be unloved. Pregnancy always brings mood swings, and I was no exception. Leo seemed to make up for what he owed me, cooking for me by hand. I didn't even have the qualifications for such treatment before. But I didn't want to eat. He fed me a rolled egg, patiently coaxing me to eat. There was a hint of worry and pleading in his expression. I resisted the churning in my stomach and ate one. What if I died in the water that day? I don't know how to swim. His face fell, telling me not to say such unlucky words. He emphasized again, I won't let you die. Yes, you won't let me die. But you won't save me either. It's rare for me to be so obstinate, and he fell silent. When I thought he wouldn't talk to me, he spoke. If you die, I will accompany you. You can't bear to leave her. You won't leave Linda until she gives birth to her child. You still have your brothers, your parents. You have Linda and her child. You can't bear to leave. Leo is just a big liar. That night, I had a dream. A very long dream, a dream mixed with reality. It was like watching a movie showing me those years buried deep in my memory. It was the first time I saw Leo, such a handsome young boy in a dog cage. Other children were crying or wetting themselves out of fear, only he remained silent in the corner. My father said he was mute. The people who came to buy ignored him, and in the end he was abandoned in the cage. No one wanted to buy a child his age who was also mute. My father said his face was good-looking and they could chop off his limbs and put them in a large jar for performances. I told Leo what my father said, trying to scare this mute boy. He opened his mouth and asked if I wanted to leave with him. Without me, he wouldn't find a way out. He said, like him, he was also abducted. I panicked and wanted to deny it. He said, where are the parents who treat their child like livestock? Outside the city, my biological parents are waiting for me. He said, all parents love their children. Pudding, candy, warm clothes, hot food. The world he described was like a dream. Escape, and you will be reborn. I agreed because I remembered how in the past my father, drunk, would take out his dissatisfaction with life on me. I was often beaten and locked in a dog cage. He said I was lucky. No matter how hard he hit me, I wouldn't die. One night, I overheard him discussing with others about using me to bear children once I was old enough. Instead of the beatings, I was more afraid of being torn apart by those grim men. 2 days later, the plan was successfully executed. The village was ablaze, everyone busy fighting the fire. My father told me to look after the children in the dog cage. I untied Leo. We changed clothes, sneaked out along the path in the dark, and saw the road only after walking through the mountains for 2 days. We were saved. It had been a while since my last visit to the hospital. I had to rely on medication to ease the pain due to the spread of cancer cells. Leo's business trips became more frequent, and his time at home grew shorter. He wouldn't notice my condition. On Linda's birthday, Leo rushed back. I had never celebrated a birthday before escaping the mountains. No one cared about a commodity's birthday. They only measured how long the commodity could be sold. Besides, who knew when a kidnapped child was born? Even if I were returned to my biological parents, I hadn't celebrated a birthday. They couldn't feel close to me. My rough manners clashed with their teacher-like status. I simply stopped celebrating birthdays. Celebrating alone was ridiculous. I felt Leo was wrong. Some parents didn't love their children. And the outside world might not always have candies and puddings. There's a term in the world, substitutes. My biological parents had a daughter and they shared their love between us. Leo remembered my birthday, and in 3 years together, I celebrated 23 birthdays. It didn't bother me that parents didn't love me, but I had Leo. Now Leo, who used to be my birthday partner, was celebrating with Linda. I saw Leo at Linda's house. When I arrived, he was tying a red scarf around Linda in the heavy snow. They hugged tightly like lovers reuniting after a long separation, silently expressing their longing for each other. Our house was only a few meters away from Linda's. Linda was the preferred choice. Leo saw me and released Linda, running towards me. His embrace, infused with Linda's scent, trapped me in place. Vivian, I missed you so much, he said, embracing me tightly, almost breaking my fragile body. After celebrating Linda's birthday, he took me home. Like a magician, he brought out a bouquet of bluebell flowers. It was my favorite, symbolizing the land I longed for. Even though I didn't know how he got them in winter, today was nothing special, no need to buy these things. I carefully placed the flowers in a vase. It was a pity, once plucked, they were destined to wither soon. This always reminded me of my illness. The worsening and withering were just a matter of time. We lay on the bed. He held me from behind, burying his face in my neck, his voice muffled. Vivian, you've lost so much weight. Maybe I haven't had a good appetite lately, I replied. We tacitly avoided mentioning the drowning incident. But the more something is deliberately ignored, the more it stands out in memory. This charlatan. Talking on one hand and overly concerned about others' well-being on the other. Leo, do you really love me? The scent of the bluebell flowers helped me sleep well, but they weren't medicine, and I woke in the middle of the night still in excruciating stomach pain. I fumbled in the dark for the medicine but touched only a cold emptiness beside me. Leo, where are you? I picked up the phone beside me and dialed his number. It was late. Where had Leo gone? Deep down, I already had an answer. He answered the phone, his voice trembling, clearly shaken. Vivian, I'm at the hospital. Linda's having stomach pains. But I am too. Leo, Linda's weak voice came from the other end. Leo said a few words hastily and hung up the phone. I wanted to say, but I'm in pain too. It really hurts. This was the second time I had been abandoned. I had no strength left to resist the pain. It was snowing outside and I collapsed on the ground, engulfed by pain and darkness. Perhaps it was better to die like this. When I woke, it was already late at night, and the room was still dark, causing a panic within me. I know I resisted once again, but I don't know how many more times I can hold on. I sat blankly, curled up in the corner, watching the sky outside gradually lightening. The door suddenly swung open, cold wind rushing into the room. Leo was back, looking exhausted and covered in bits of snow, sitting on the floor. I softly said, my stomach was hurting last night. He froze, his hand by his side clenching tightly. I have a serious stomach condition. When my stomach hurts, it feels like all my strength is being drained out of me. Stomach pain also brings back a lot of memories for me. Like the night over a decade ago when the flames shot into the sky. Like the years of abuse. How could Leo possibly understand how I got my stomach condition? And he wouldn't know how excruciating my stomach pain can be. But just when I need him the most, he is with another woman. When I'm in agony and almost fainting, he is praying for another woman. He lowered his head, his voice filled with guilt and pleading. I'm sorry, Vivian. I looked at him and curled my lips. It's okay, just a stomach ache won't take my life. When he was praying for Linda at the hospital, did he ever think of me? I clenched my flesh tightly, forcing myself not to ask. Don't ask. Every time the answer is humiliating. He silently walked up to me, his icy hand lifting me back onto the bed. Vivian, let's get married. I was stunned. Married? He knelt on one knee earnestly, holding my hand. I hadn't expected him to propose to me so suddenly. A few months ago, I might have been moved to tears, but now, Leo, you are ridiculous. Did you slap me a few times and now you're trying to sweeten me up with candy? A thought suddenly came to my mind. I wanted Leo to experience my pain and despair as well. All right. His eyes glittered with tears as he hugged me, as if relieved, repeating my name over and over. He suddenly asked, do you like children? His body froze, resting his head on my shoulder, his expression. Having you, Vivian, is enough for me. He knew my physical condition made it difficult for me to have children. He rarely spoke in such a cheesy manner, but in order to console me, he did. The fleeting happiness just now felt like dried leaves crumbling at a touch. After taking care of Linda's matters, he boarded a plane again. He said we would get married when he returns. He never allowed me to see him off in the past, but this time he unexpectedly let me accompany him to the airport. Before boarding, he put several good luck charms on me. I remembered we had sought them when we were first together. He had gone several times to pray for them. I teased him for being superstitious. He gave me one, but I didn't know who all those charms were for. I assumed they were for his family and friends. I waved goodbye to him at the security checkpoint. Right before going through security, he turned back to wave at me, looking like an energetic young boy. Wait for me. I understood his words. I thought that was probably the last time I'd see his smile. Next time we meet, we won't be so friendly. A message from him arrived on my phone. He asked me to take care of myself and visit Linda more often. I replied with an okay. When I returned home, I chose a suitable date to register our marriage. I prepared a special gift for him. Before that, I visited Leo's grandmother. The old lady always enjoyed children when she was clear-headed, and I couldn't deny her the little hope she had in her twilight years. The grandmother was showing signs of senile dementia and had been moved to a nursing home with caregivers looking after her. After explaining the situation to the caregivers, I saw the old lady. She held my hand lovingly and said the most piercing words. Linda, make sure I see you two get married. Suddenly, she pushed me away and screamed, you're not Linda. Where's Linda? Where is Leo? The caregivers quickly came to calm the emotionally excited old lady. I stood there dumbfounded, chest tight, struggling to breathe, head pounding. The old lady had been living in the nursing home. She had no idea Linda was pregnant. Leo must have brought her here before. What did Leo mean? What did they want to do? What am I to him in his eyes? Whose child is in Linda's belly? During the time Linda lived next door to us, I never saw Linda's boyfriend. Leo had told me earlier that Linda's boyfriend was abroad and couldn't come back for a while. Does anyone really stay away for months without coming back to see his own wife and child? Or perhaps the boyfriend Leo described doesn't even exist. I recalled when I first met Linda. She was careful to protect her stomach. I had expressed my desire to have a child to Leo, but Leo told me it's okay if we don't have children. I thought he was just reassuring me not to worry about not being able to conceive. Why does he have the authority to decide I can't get pregnant? My mind was a tangle of thoughts, and now I found a thread. I was tired. I no longer held any expectations. After leaving the nursing home, I visited my parents' house again. Although life there wasn't good after I returned, at least they had spent some money on me. I gave them most of the money I had saved up from work. By doing this, I considered everything settled. Faced with questioning parents, I didn't have the energy to explain anything to them. I simply left my former home. The moment I walked out the door, I felt a sense of relief. Right now, all I wanted was to go to one place, Finland, the land of 1,000 lakes. It's renowned as one of the countries with the highest happiness index in the world. No one can expect a person to not pursue happiness at the end of their life. Before boarding the plane, Leo called me. "Vivian, I'm sorry, it will take me 2 more days before I can take the flight back. Will you wait for me for 2 more days? Tomorrow is our scheduled wedding date." "It's okay, I'm going home." He knew my parents didn't like me and was a bit worried I'd come back to talk about the wedding. "I'll go back in a couple of days." "You don't have to worry." Although he hesitated for a moment, he didn't say anything further. "Take Linda to see the old lady more often in the future. She likes kids." After saying that, I hung up the phone and turned it off. Before going to my parents' house, I went to the hospital for an abortion. I can't let the child be born into the world without anyone to love. I can't imagine how he could survive alone in this indifferent world. Calculating carefully, after 3 years together, our memories were not so beautiful. It was my own insistence that led to this relationship. A child of heaven and a tiny ant on the ground, Leo could let go of Linda and be with me probably because of my accumulated merits from past lives. I have also fantasized, if I hadn't started that fire, maybe I could have stayed there forever. Without experiencing the outside world, without yearning for the warmth of love in a family, would I not have ended up like this? Perhaps being solitary and silent in that towering mountain is my true destiny. Now that I have left, they are the ones who truly complete each other. In these short 20-some years, I have seen quite a bit of this world. As the plane gets further and further away from the ground, I watch the city getting smaller and silently said goodbye, goodbye forever. Leo's epilogue: the first time I saw Vivian was in that cage full of children. I was inside the cage and she was outside. At first glance, I could tell she was also a child who had been abducted. I lured her with the fascinating world outside. We escaped from that village, saving numerous children in the process. As our paths crossed more and more, I couldn't deny that I was falling for her. But I was an undercover police officer, as was Linda and Linda's husband too. We grew up together from a young age. One of us had to go undercover abroad, and it was supposed to be me, but Linda's husband secretly applied to go instead. He went alone, and Linda and I stayed behind to assist locally. My public identity was that of a company CEO, which allowed me to frequently travel abroad. Vivian was unaware of all this. When she pursued me fiercely like a wildfire, I couldn't reciprocate. Because of my true identity, my life could be in danger at any moment. Moreover, once the identity of an undercover narcotics officer is exposed, those close to them are also at risk of brutal retaliation. I have witnessed firsthand the horrific aftermath of retaliation against police officers' family members. But her pursuit was too intense, and I also deeply loved her. We ended up being together. However, compared to our few years of sweetness, Eric staying by the drug lord side was in a very dangerous situation. After a data exchange, I received information about the factional fighting within the drug trafficking group where Linda's husband was. He died, but other undercover officers also gained more information from within the internal strife. I couldn't bring myself to inform Linda of this news. However, since she was the one coordinating with me, she received the information too. Before leaving, her husband asked me to take good care of her and her unborn child in the country. Now that he's in trouble, I am very worried about Linda and her child. I brought Linda to my side to take care of her. Her emotions were very unstable and I could only comfort her constantly. During the boat accident, I had only one thought in my mind: to save Linda and her unborn child. I couldn't face Vivian because I had broken our previous vows. I hid my inner panic and explained to her that Linda was still carrying a child. I looked at the sorrow and disappointment in her eyes, at a loss for words. I didn't know how to explain it to her. I could only hope she would understand me. In the hospital, Linda woke up first, having had a nightmare and on the verge of breaking down emotionally. I had to go to the next room to watch over her and prevent her from doing anything foolish. To calm her down, I softly told her about the funny things her husband used to do. It seemed to remind her of the sweetness they once shared, and she quickly started smiling happily. It also made me reminisce about the past. I had once pursued Linda as fervently as Vivian pursued me. I also felt regretful at one point, but as time passed, I let go of it. The foolishness of the past was locked away with those photos and love letters in an album. I met Vivian and found my lifelong love. Vivian revived the dust-covered past, and I didn't want her to misinterpret things, so I explained that I now only see Linda as a sister. I felt a bit annoyed that she brought it up. Later on, Vivian was understanding and didn't bring it up again. Suddenly, there was a noise outside the door, bringing me back to reality. I walked out to check. Vivian had fallen to the ground, and I rushed to help her up. I felt nervous and lost as she must have seen everything just now. There was no sadness or blame. The name on Vivian's face, she simply moved my hand away and went back to her room. Linda followed and said she wanted to go out for a walk. Afraid that she might get into trouble alone outside, I made up an excuse to follow her out. I quickly comforted Linda's emotions and brought back a bowl of soup. I didn't know it at the time, but the soup contained seafood. Vivian's expression was so numb that it frightened me, so I quickly disposed of it and left. I reassured myself that Vivian's anger would eventually dissipate. I hoped she would give me a way out. But instead of receiving a way out, I was assigned to go abroad once again. This time I brought back good news. Our operation had begun. The information unearthed after Linda's husband's incident was enough for us to launch our operation early, ensuring its success. As soon as I landed, I called Linda to share the good news with her. She was delighted, and upon my return, I didn't see Vivian. Instead, I went shopping with Linda and bought her many things. It wasn't until the evening that Vivian returned, looking desolate. Out of the blue, Vivian proposed to marry me. I told her to wait a bit longer. The situation was urgent now. I had to wait until we finished our operation and earned enough merit to apply for retirement. I promised to give Vivian a grand wedding. By then, Linda probably had given birth, emerging from her sorrow. As things were wrapping up, I had to frequently leave Vivian's side. On Linda's birthday, I rushed back, and following a list given to me secretly by Linda's husband before he went abroad, I presented her with a red scarf on his behalf. Linda cried when she saw the scarf, and I held her tightly, comforting her. Then I saw Vivian standing at the door. The joy of reuniting after a long absence made me embrace her tightly. I noticed she had become thinner. Her fragile body seemed like a delicate kite ready to fall at any slight external force. Her mind was heavy, I knew that. The events of these past times had surely left scars on her heart, but it was not yet the time to confess everything. Even though she rarely contacted me now, from constantly revolving around me in the past to being silent now, I couldn't explain everything to her. During the night, I received a call from Linda. I glanced at the peacefully sleeping Vivian and hurried over. Fortunately, Linda and the children were fine, but Linda needed to stay in the hospital for observation. When Vivian called, I answered but was called away after a few words, and I didn't get to hear what Vivian said in the end. When I returned home and saw a distraught Vivian on the ground, the suppressed panic overwhelmed me. I felt like I was about to lose the girl in front of me. Without a ring prepared, I proposed to her. There was no surprise and happiness on her face as I had imagined. It didn't matter. As long as I locked her in marriage, someday I would confess everything to her, and she would forgive me. It didn't matter. It was all coming to an end soon. On my last departure, I thought that when I returned this time, I would be able to go to Finland with her to get married. Before leaving, I hung all the talismans on Vivian. I hoped to come back safely. If I couldn't make it back safely, these talismans must protect my Vivian. Vivian once laughed at me for having so many talismans, saying it was because I knew I had a mission to carry out. I was afraid of death. I didn't want to leave Vivian alone. When it was almost time to go back, there was a slight accident and I had to return 2 days later. I called Vivian to apologize and she told me she was at her parents' house. She told me to take Linda to visit Grandma more often in the future. I was about to continue asking when she hung up. By the time I finished my tasks and returned to the country, I never saw Vivian again. In the dim room, scattered were various puddings and medicine bottles. There was a delicately packaged gift box on the cabinet in front of the bed. On top was a pregnancy diagnosis report. I was so happy I almost jumped up, wanting to tell everyone that I was going to be a dad. Our long-awaited child. I never imagined that she would terminate our child. Does she hate me? Resent my actions and concealment? But she couldn't take it out on the child. She was too impulsive. I madly called her, but her phone was still off. Vivian, where did you go? Checking the date on the report, I remembered the day when Linda and I finished our call and saw her missed call but didn't call back. She was trying to tell me at that time. But me? I took away her love and time and used more time to take care of Linda. I asked a friend to check Vivian's itinerary and learned she went to a nursing home. On the day I called her, she had taken a plane to Finland. I learned what happened that day from the nurse. The old lady knew my feelings for Linda before she got sick. I had even taken Linda to see her last time. I couldn't blame a confused old lady. I booked a ticket to Finland a few days later, deciding to go find Vivian. I wanted to explain everything to her. Linda called me, telling me the operation was successful. I didn't make it to the award ceremony as I received a call from the embassy. Hello, are you Vivian's family? Her body was found in Ivalo, Finland. I didn't hear what he said next. I couldn't understand. He said Vivian's body, but just a short time ago, Vivian was alive and well in front of me. This must be a hoax. Vivian loved me so much. She wouldn't leave me alone like that. Linda accompanied me to Finland and she identified the body. Linda said it's her. I didn't believe it. I couldn't believe Vivian, so timid, would die alone in a foreign country. I rushed into the morgue, seeing the lifeless figure on the platform. That face was devoid of life, the entire body skinny and lifeless. I shook her, trying to wake her up, to take her home, to marry her, to give her the most romantic wedding. But the people around quickly stopped me. Sir, let the deceased rest. Linda and I buried Vivian in Finland. I hazily went to the place. She had been trying to find any traces she had left behind. I went to the place where we had sought talismans when we first got together. I devoutly knelt in front of the shrine, praying that the gods would guide my Vivian home. After spending several days in the city she had once stayed in, I still couldn't let go of Vivian. Before leaving, I found her stomach cancer diagnosis report in the house where we had lived for years. The floor was covered with various puddings, most of which were new products from the dessert shop. I went to that dessert shop, where a sweet girl welcomed me and recommended a hot-selling dessert known for bringing happiness. A heavy blow hit my mind and I crouched down, unable to hold back the tears in the dessert shop. It was too late. It had been too late for a long time, ever since I said the first wait. I am such a jerk. How desperate Vivian must have been back then. How painful stomach cancer must be. I'm sorry, Vivian. I finally admit that my beloved disappeared over time in the despair I brought her. When I returned to Vivian's side, the weather was nice and the woods around the cemetery were blooming with her favorite bluebells. She must be hiding beneath, secretly laughing at my pain. I bought a small house around the cemetery and took on the job of a graveyard keeper. I didn't want to make her wait too long. Before that, I had to atone for my mistakes. Linda's epilogue: Eric, my husband, Leo, and I grew up together since we were young. Leo's feelings for me were like any other suitors, not causing any ripples in my world because my heart belonged to Eric. However, I couldn't help but feel genuinely happy for him when I saw how Vivian's appearance changed Leo. When Eric passed away as a drug dealer, I couldn't bring his body back. I wanted to leave with him, but Leo comforted me, reminding me of the child growing inside me, Eric's only bloodline. I am grateful for Leo's care during my emotional turbulence. Overwhelming grief kept engulfing me, but Leo repeatedly saved me and Eric's child. When we received the news of Vivian's death, Leo's reaction mirrored my own. He couldn't bring himself to identify Vivian's body, just as I couldn't believe Eric had sacrificed himself. I went to see her, and it was indeed Vivian. I understood his feelings then, having lost my beloved as well. But I still had our baby while Vivian left nothing behind. Together, we buried Vivian in a cemetery in Finland. When we returned home, Leo disappeared. His family couldn't find him, and he didn't show up even when his grandmother passed away. For years later, news of him came from the embassy over a phone call. I took our child to Finland. This time it was Leo lying on the cold table instead of Vivian. His face was even more gaunt than Vivian's. The autopsy report cited lung cancer. Visiting his home, I saw the accumulation of cigarette butts and empty bottles. It was hard to imagine how he spent these years after losing Vivian. Daily he drowned himself in smoke and alcohol. My thoughts of Vivian. After cremating him, I laid Leo to rest next to Vivian. As the urn was being buried, a heavy rain poured down, perhaps Vivian's lament for Leo's passing.